this summer. Construction is now reported at 85% completion for the project. When it's done, a 90-minute rafting trip will involve 4 laps around the park with man-made whitewater channels. The $65 million whitewater rafting park will be located near Interstate 65 and Maxwell Air Force Base. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
WQEE 99.1 FM The Key, home of Southern sports and talk. Newnan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hank Arnold here from Coweta Force. Coweta Force is Newnan's own addiction recovery support center. We exist to provide recovery support services for individuals and family members who have been impacted by addiction. Our services are no cost, and all of our information is available on our website at www.cowetaforce.org or follow us on Facebook.
Your shop offers alternative holistic approaches to health, as well as personalized programs for your specific health issues. They are located at 408 Ridley Avenue in LaGrange. Stop on by or give them a call for more information at 706-756-1400, or you can find them on Facebook at The Herb Shop LaGrange. Are you looking for guidance and direction? Stop on by the House of Light Tuesdays from 12 to 3 and have tea and tarot with Christy. The House of Light is located at 29 Jackson Street in Newnan, Georgia. Call 470-414-6711 for more information.
The House of Light brings clarity to your soul, offering a safe space for healing through our compassionate practitioners, services, classes, and wisdom, plus the tools to support you in our retail space.
If you think or know you had COVID-19, you can be around others after 10 days since symptoms first appeared, and after 24 hours with no fever without fever-reducing medication, and after other symptoms have improved. If you have tested positive for COVID-19 and you had no symptoms, you can be around others 10 days after you got tested for COVID-19. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus.
This is Jared Rutledge of the Columbus River Dragons, your home for River Dragons hockey in Newnan.
The views and opinions of this show and program are not the views and opinions of this station, its management, or its clientele. It's now time for the House of Light presents The Wisdom Cafe, each and every week at this time on 99.1 FM WQEE. Here's this week's special.
Hello, I'm Dr. Rick Chambers with this week's Blue Plate Special at the Wisdom Cafe. Every third Thursday, once a month, I come to do I'm the Blue Plate Special. And so my background, I was a therapist in town for around 22 years, and then and so I've known about House of Light for a long time, but after I retired, I started kind of going to House of Light, and I'm on the special there Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. I do a book sense discussion group. So overall, I love talking, but I love talking with people and knowing what people are thinking. And also, in these days of like all the divisiveness and all of the arguments, I love a dialogue or a conversation that comes from a different place, that has a different attitude, that people walk away wanting more and wanting to continue talking rather than walking away angry. And I even talk about politics and religion very frequently. And so far, it goes very well. book sense, we have a podcast, and it's this. It's the idea that through books, it's subjectivity. Like you're able to enter another person's subjectivity through books, perhaps. Face to face is the next best thing, or maybe the best thing. But books allow the mind to go places that a lot of times our practical lives don't allow. In many ways, this concept of empathy, kind of think about what books, like kind of both like diaries, but also where you can go into the mind of characters, has really been kind of schooling in the ability to have accurate empathy or to enter into people's subjectivity. Subjectivity is something that's completely ignored in our culture right now, devalued, or it even becomes risky to express your subjectivity. So I like to give people a chance to do that through dialogues, and especially you're discussing books as this thing outside, but it's your reaction to kind of what the authors are writing. And that way there's not a right or wrong. It's just getting people's reactions and kind of their thoughts, building on maybe what authors have written. So today our guest is Linda Vid. Give me a chance, I'll get a name wrong. That it just seems to happen. I think the little elves or something, or the leprechauns, since it's St. Patrick's Day, or kind of, that's one way they mess with me. But you're also associated with the House of Light. In fact, I met you through House of Light. What do you have to offer through House of Light?
So I am the office manager of the House of Light. So I do a lot of the daily social media, emails, phone calls, making appointments, helping people see the practitioners they need to see. But I am also a practitioner there myself. I do flower essence consultations. So I create flower essences and then create blends specifically for people after consulting with them and finding out what they're going through. And it's like an energetic, vibrational medicine sort of to help them with what they're going through.
Okay. I wonder how far back, like fragrances and we've always had this kind of in culture, like this aspect of like fragrances. So everything from like perfumes to like kind of all the scents in our houses now. And it seems like it's, and some people may not value it much, but there are other people that kind of realize that it can be very powerful.
Yes, and flower essences are actually not as much about the scent as they are about the energy of the flower. So I think most people get confused with like essential oils, and so it is different. And flower essences don't really have a smell, but I think what you're getting at with that is actually goes along with it, because in a way the scent of a plant is also medicine, is also energy. It's a part of the plant you're bringing into your home or putting on your body. And so either way, you're getting like these different essential pieces of plants, and they can be therapeutic.
Wow. Like, thanks for making that like differentiation that with scents. And so plants and healing, like kind of, so there's the pharmaceutical industries and everything, and they can like kind of manufacture molecules. But from way back, plants are part of healing, or the ideas for what molecules to use are often from plants or a derivative of plants. And could you mention this word like healing or restorative healing, just good for people in some way?
Right. And so, like you said, there's pharmaceuticals, so those are actual like compounds. You also think about like herbalism, a tincture from a plant. Those are all compounds from the plant that are affecting your physical body often. And then you get to like essential oils, and even they have physical compounds in them that are affecting the body, while also carrying some of the energetics. And then flower essences are like purely energetic. There's not like a physical compound that is supposed to be affecting the body. It's just a vibrational, energetic connection.
Right. So is that more similar to homeopathy?
It is similar to homeopathy in a lot of ways. It's also very diluted. My teacher talked about how with a flower essence, so often we have like emotions and trauma and things that are just like locked up in our body, hidden under lock and key. And the flower essences are these teeny tiny little beautiful pieces of energy that can fit through the keyhole and start to sort of heal from the inside out. So it's pretty woo-woo, but but very beautiful and very gentle, and just allows some of the energy to shift that is being held in the body and in the emotions.
Yes. So maybe one way of thinking about it, and it's woo-woo from a certain perspective, and yet there are also a lot of bridges to the sciences and to medicine as it's practiced in other places. I was just thinking when you mentioned tinctures, I was at a workshop for very advanced like healthcare and everything, and there was a teacher from Mercer University Medical School, and they were teaching the future physicians how to do tinctures, compounds, compost. What is it, like mustard compost or something in the old days they would do? Is that the right word?
I don't think that's the right word. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
Yeah, compost is what's in your garden.
Like a salve?
Yeah, those kind of things. And so, I'm into this idea of the future is going to be cutting edge old school, a little bit of the old, a lot, and the new. And then those used to be, there was a rejection of kind of medical treatments or anything that came before, like really scientific medicine. But I'm talking about this to get to this. There is so when you're using pharmaceuticals, it's similar to alcohol would be considered a pharmaceutical or whatever. It changes every cell in your body.
Right.
It affects you on a whole body level. So it's a very, and all the chemical, biochemistry and everything, it really affects things in a perhaps visible way, in a measurable way, in these kind of ways. And sometimes that's what's needed, and that's like kind of, it saves lives, like antibiotics and things like that, like you're needing the whole body to fight or something. But you use this word subtle. Yeah. And I was thinking as you were talking that would, I knew it had to do with getting past or getting through keyholes or gates or resistances or something that's about reducing, like kind of getting at a smaller and smaller dose in a way, is about getting past resistances in some way or unlocking a lock.
Right. And I think
opposed to like kicking the door down.
Right. Yes.
That's the phrase I was trying to, or the difference I was trying to get to.
Yes, that is really beautiful. It's a very gentle, and I think it can change every cell of your body just like a pharmaceutical can, but it is a much gentler, slower process, and it starts on more of an energetic level rather than a chemistry level.
Which I would say, I've often told people, I never heard of people talking about energetic energy, a person's energy, the body's energy. That's not usually included in the scientific And a similar phrase would be like kind of the workers that work with light. Mm-hmm. So kind of working rather than biochemicals. And in a way, the practice of medicine, a doctor is licensed to do two things. One is to do certain procedures. So you want a surgeon to know how to do their procedures and everything. But it's the practice of medicine because it is biochemistry is the fundamental aspect. So it is directly working with biochemistry. But they're healing modalities that have to do with energy and light that are outside the boundaries.
Right.
I think it's also important to say, and everybody knows this is true, as you hear the commercials for the pharmaceuticals and everything, there's always the, like, kind of, these are side effects, this is a side effect. I would venture to say everything offered by the House of Light, there's small, if no risk, like associated with any of the like treatments or procedures.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Because of this kind of emphasis on it's working with energy and light rather than biochemistry.
Right. Yes. But I do think, I think there can be...
It does not work with biochemistry. Like, kind of...
And so I think you can have reactions, but it's not going to be like sudden death or whatever the crazy things are it might just be like you might feel really emotional the next day because some sort of blockage in your energy has been shifted and is allowing emotion to now flow through. And so I do think there can be effects that you'll notice in the coming days that might feel not so fun, because healing is often, a process that is not just like love and light and joy. It's also dealing with, your sadness, your grief, your anger, all the things which can bring up a lot for you.
Yes.
So I do think there can be those kinds of effects from light healing or energetic healing, but it's not going to be something like you might get cancer or, drop dead tomorrow from a heart attack because you took this medicine.
Yes. And then with all the practitioners, I bet, and this is perhaps different from kind of what we'll call modern medicine or professional medicine or licensed medicine over here. The relationship with the practitioner really matters, and there is this ongoing kind of feedback. How did this affect you? What's happening? So as you say, you do a type of assessment in the beginning, but it doesn't end there.
Right. Well, and I think, even if you are talking modern medicine, I think most people know what it's like to have a doctor they hate versus a doctor they love, and that can really affect your healing because the energetics of them prescribing something to you is affected by how you feel about the doctor. And so I think even in modern medicine, this is a thing, it's just not acknowledged. Whereas at the House of Light, it is. And I think even like if you're talking about therapists, if you have a therapist that you love and have a big connection with, healing is so much more possible than if you have a therapist you're like, I don't really connect with them. And so this energetic piece is there, I think, in everything. We just aren't acknowledging it as much, but we definitely do at the House of Light. And so honestly, often the modality doesn't even matter that much as long as you're connecting with the person who is doing the modality.
Yes. And I'm glad you compared it to therapy and everything. Exactly. In my academic training, the word energy was never used, light. Another word, soul, that's very important to me. But even emotions were, they're often symptoms to work on, not feedback or information about the relationship and everything. Right. And so there's this bias in our world to take relationship out of it, take emotions out of it, to just focus on what is easily measurable or seen. But I know from years of doing therapy, there are things that are not so easy to talk about that are still like crucial. In fact, even in the 70s, there was this huge study when all the debates were about what techniques are you using or which school of therapy are you using. And the research even said a couple of things. It didn't matter as much what school you were in or what theory you were using. What mattered was the quality of the relationship and how strongly the therapist believed in the technique.
Right.
So strange things like belief can affect, and we don't have any way to measure that or to even bring that up on the radar screen.
Well, the word that kept playing in my head while you were talking about that was resonance. And so
Yes.
I think the resonance that the therapist has to the type of therapy they're doing matters, and then the resonance between the two people.
What does resonance have to do with flower essences?
Well, I think
Why is that a word you would key on?
Well, because everything is vibration, right? Energy is vibration, and so things either resonate or don't. And I've often, so like if you have a therapist you don't really get along with, there's obviously not resonance happening. And I think that makes it more difficult to have a therapeutic relationship and allow for healing to occur. And so the flower essences, it's the vibration of the flower. And so putting that in your body or on your body, you're adding that resonance to your body, which allows the resonance of your body to change in relation to the flower. Yes. And so I think that is one way that we allow healing to occur. And the same thing with if you're looking at sound therapy, the vibration of the sound allows that resonance of you and the sound bowls allows things to shift in your body because the energy is vibrating differently due to the resonance.
Right. So we're speaking English, but it's a different language. It's like talking with a computer person or talking with anybody that's in a particular field. This whole different vocabulary, and it's not just words, it's words and meanings that kind of, once you start using this word, you're going to use this other one and this other one. But eventually it does create a different worldview, a different way of experiencing the world. And then my interest is language and how that can change things and affect things. Because what else does a therapist have to work with?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of, so energy is like a field between people or a medium through which things work. Language is the one that came, I always say, that's the medium that I work in.
Yeah.
And it can, and then resonance. It gets toward this idea of, you'll hear these words at House of Light too a lot, like balance, alignment, harmony. Mm-hmm. As if it's like music or energies, resonances, and so all of this vocabulary kind of fits together, but it's in a different system than measurement. Although I think we're developing more and more ways to be, especially from practitioners knowing each other and comparing themselves to each other, the amount of knowledge and kind of the confidence of practitioners, it has really evolved over 20 or 30 years of my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you use this, along with this vocabulary, there was a word you were using that's very intriguing to me, of essence. Mm. So what is the essence of Linda? What is my essence? There's this big debate, kind of in psychology, of if people have an essence, if individuals, if there is a self there that's particular, or is there really no essence to a person? It's all just formed from the outside.
Right. Well, I believe that I have an essence. I would call it my soul.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is playing out as who I am today. This body, I feel like my body is a manifestation of my soul. Like my soul has manifested this body that I'm getting to live out in this lifetime. And yes, my context, you know, my parents, where I live, all who I'm around, all of these things shape who I am. But if you take all of that away, there is still like my essential me, which is my soul.
Yes, and that's really what rocked my world within the field of psychology in the 90s, that there wasn't a language or a way of talking about it that allowed people to have something that was not genetics and environment, that was not like pre-given or deterministic, or a little freedom, flexibility, but also real individuality. Yeah. And I think soul does a good job of kind of capturing this, but very similar. The connection I was wanting to make is kind of similar to flowers. When you like kind of keep trying to get it down more and more, like closer to the essence, some people would look and say, well, there's nothing there.
Right.
But other people would go, no, that's what you've been looking for. Like, so in a sense, my essence is always visible. It would be visible in every decision I make, everything I say. It's always there. But to see it as a separate thing is not immediately obvious.
Right. Unless you're someone like you and me, and
unless
that
you're
is
looking.
What you look for.
Right.
And then you can see it in everything people do.
Right.
Like, oh, that's Rick.
And that's why I say it rocked my world in psychology. Imagine, like, kind of a therapist imagining you have an essence that's really you and distinctly you and that matters. And then one that doesn't, that thinks, like, that's just concerned with correcting your behavior.
Right. Ooh.
There's at least a big difference there in assumptions.
Absolutely.
And it could rock the whole culture in a way for people to kind of realize there's something to us that's not just given by your environment, your culture, your past, nor genetics. Now, it could be genetics as being in your DNA, but it's even there, it would be unique to you.
Right. And I think that, again, like, I feel like we come back to this word balance. Like, we do have this soul, but we are in a context. Yes. And so you can go to either extreme, obviously, but I think we really need both.
Right. The other word is mystery, or like kind of everything we're talking about. And there's kind of a move in the world to eliminate all the mystery, or to explain all the mystery, and especially to explain it away. But there are a lot of people there are a lot of situations involving health, our happiness, and our relationships with others, where this straightforward technique of just focusing on the facts and everything and this other worldview seem to be struggling with solving some of our specific problems. And I think that is how people kind of come to the House of Light or to other modalities. And what I would really recommend is trial and error for people. It's you just try it. I kind of say it's like Galileo saying, just look through the telescope.
Yeah. And
there's no other way to know.
Right.
Is you try it and see how you react to it.
Right. And we try to facilitate that at the House of Light. A lot of our practitioners will do 20 minutes of their modality for $23 because we're trying to make it so that people can just try it and see if you resonate or not. And it is not anything against you if you do not resonate. It just means you don't resonate, and that's okay. And that's just like, okay, let's try something else.
I love that. As you're doing an assessment, the client or customer is doing, like you're asking, and this is different from regular medicine, you're asking the person to be involved in the process,
yes.
And they have the right to do their own assessments.
Exactly.
And to like, and it's all based on their experience.
Yeah. And no practitioner is going to take it personally if you don't resonate.
And they're not going to force anything.
No.
That's a nice system. That's a nice approach.
Yes.
Yes. So thanks for joining us today to give us a little more information on House of Light and how it kind of connects to psychology that I do, how things like flower essences relate to like a person's sense of self.
Yeah.
And there's a different language of talking about these things.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the House of Light presents The Wisdom Cafe on 99.1 FM WQEE. The House of Light, a wellness center at 29 Jackson Street here in Newnan, is a place for people to relax and find true healing. For additional information, 407-414-6711. Remember to tune in next week for another healing message from the House of Light presents The Wisdom Cafe right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.